This is when the prank starts.
Yeah.
Cover your crotch.
Come on.
I was in the green room here, and you're not there
Right.
at the time of agreed arrival. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen in this room? Like, what is...
Are we there, Tony?
I did look for cameras.
Are we there?
I looked for cameras. We're always there, potentially. We all have PTSD from Jackass.
PSTDs?
Yes.
Yeah, the guys really have it bad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Hello, my name's Johnny Knoxville.
I'm Elna Baker.
And this is Pretty Sure I Can Fly. And today we have a man on the show that needs no introduction. Skating legend. See, I go right into, I say he doesn't need an introduction, but now I'm introducing him.
And then you do it. Yeah, go do it.
Skateboard legend. But honestly, I think most people know him for his co-starring role in Triple X, Mr. Tony Hawk.
True. Thank you. Thank you very much.
How did Matt Hoffman get lines in that film and you didn't?
That's a good question. They wanted a getaway driver, and for some reason, they just had me in mind for that. And,
oh, you were the getaway driver.
Yeah.
I just watched the party scene, so you probably did have lines if you're the getaway driver.
Yeah, it was more just excited, like, come on, let's go.
No, those are lines.
That's true.
Yeah, you nailed those lines.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, my God. Tony, like, every time we call him for years for Jackass, Wild Boys, anything, we're like, hey, you want to shoot with us? And he just says yes. He never asks what he's doing. And, like, the next thing you know, he's standing on the back of Paramount film lot and getting fake jizzed on by a giant Godzilla monster. Bless your heart.
It wasn't so much the getting jizzed on. It was take 2 and take 3 when there was nowhere to change, nowhere to shower, nowhere. Like I had to go in a tent. Can I just go into it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
It was like 7 a.m. It was freezing.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's freezing. And then
Wait, whose
cold.
jizz is this? I have to understand where is the jizz coming from?
The Ponyosaurus.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Ponyosaurus. It's supposed, but it,
Whose was it?
special
It was the
effects.
guy with this giant jet thing shooting it at you so hard that it's dragged me across the sidewalk. I got scrapes on my elbow from that, just that. But then they said, we got to, and then Spike is like, no, got to do it again. So then I go
That's
in
a
the
great
tent,
Spike imitation, by the way.
go in a tent. I wipe it off as best I can. I don't have another pair of pants, so I wipe it off my pants to make them look dry. And there's no, and then they're like, that's fine. Let's just do it again. Do it again. We need to do it again.
Oh,
I have nothing else to change into. So then I just did it again in the gear like that. And then Caustic broke his ankle.
oh yeah. Jeff Tremaine fell on Cossack's ankle and snapped it while getting jizzed on, by the way. Cossack got his ankle
Yeah.
broken while getting jizzed on.
Yeah.
I've never heard a day with Johnny Knoxville story in my life.
Yeah.
And you think it's our 4th movie. We're on the Paramount backlot. We're going to have facilities for you to wash in, but no,
never.
we still suck at what we do.
The only difference in all of that is that you were in that weird chair for the moving camera rig.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
were like, oh, you graduated over here now.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're there with the gray hair going, let's get that and that and that. Instead of being like, all right, is my face looking good? Let's go.
Oh, God. Good times, good times.
It was a good time.
Well, I think I first met you on the ESPN commercials of Going Across America,
You taught my son Riley how to play dice.
and he taught me how to skateboard. How
Yeah.
old was he? He was like 3 or 4?
He was, what year was that?
97-ish, 98?
5. He was 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I got this gig for ESPN, driving across the country, meeting all the athletes. I met Matt Hoffman then. I met
Oh, wow.
so many. I met Biker Sherlock.
Yeah. He was the downhill luge guy.
Yeah, he was really, all those guys were really aggro.
Yes. That's a good summation.
Yeah, like, we're the gnarliest dudes around. And
Yeah.
in their little leathers.
I mean, those guys are, when they crash, they crash hard.
Street luge.
Yeah. I tried to find that commercial that we did recently, and I could only find one of you with someone else.
Right.
Those are hard to come by. Those years are kind of lost in the ether.
Yeah. I might have some of those on tapes. I'll see what I can do. Elna, this man is a living legend. He is a bellwether of taste. So you're going to need to be on your best behavior, okay?
All right.
Jesus Christ. We interviewed Rodney Mullen on here.
Wow.
And yeah, which was a big honor because he usually doesn't do things like that.
So I assume you had to start around 5 or 6 p.m.?
I flew to New York for it.
Okay. But did you start late there?
Oh, Rodney, when do you want to start? Where do you want me to fly?
Yeah.
You know?
But then once he's on, it goes. It just goes, right?
He's brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
How long did you go for?
Couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I think Rajiv said it's the first podcast we've done where we talked about ideas and not like events and what someone has done.
Yeah. Philosophies.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you and him like had a lot in common growing up, both like sensitive, creative, high IQ individuals, and like you were skating vert and he was freestyle, and then eventually you're like prodigies.
Yeah.
Can you explain just what Rodney means to you and to skating and?
Well, I mean, you look now. What does Rodney mean? He's the godfather of modern skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally the guy that figured out how to ollie off the ground, how to do a kickflip. Impossible. Like it just the litany of tricks that people want to learn as foundational skills. Rodney created on his own.
Mm-hmm.
When I was saying on his own, like on his own on a farm in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I was back then it was called bowl. I was a pool skater. Which eventually became half pipe and vert. And I had the longest winning streak in those years.
Yeah.
You know, roughly 84, 85-ish, all the way through X Games years. So we both identify with each other in terms of our creative motivations and kind of our mindsets of, you know, we're never resting on accolades. We're never like, yeah, that was amazing, or I won that thing. It was always like, what's next? What's the next thing we want to learn?
Right.
And so he and I connected on that on a very deep level.
Mm-hmm.
And also just having a peer that went through the same pressure of competition and expectations. You know, at some point, I was 17 and I was struggling with, do I really want to do this? This is too much pressure. This is too, I can't deal with all of this.
Winning all the time.
Well, the expectation of winning too.
Yeah.
And it was starting to suck the fun out of what I love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a full sort of, I had almost an intervention with Stacy Peralta where I just said, I don't want to do this
Were you
anymore.
depressed?
Yeah. In hindsight, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And his answer was, well, you don't want to compete anymore. What do you expect? How do you expect to make a living? How do you expect to be a pro skater? Back then, there was no social media. There was no YouTube. Skate videos were his thing, but the only way that a magazine or a company was interested in you is if you were top ranked.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I don't really know, but I just can't keep doing this way. And he said, you should talk to Rodney Mullen. Because
What did Rodney say?
Well, he said Rodney went through this like a year or two ago, and it feels like you're going through the same struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And I called Rodney, and Rodney was basically, his attitude was, yeah, I had to just let go of this idea of perfection and constant winning and take risks. And that made it more fun for me and made it better. And I don't always win. I don't always come out ahead.
But he always did.
I'm enjoying it. He did. I mean, on his,
but it made you feel better in the moment.
He always had like a baseline that was so far ahead of everyone else.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to do this just to put something out there. But for me, it allowed me to take more risks and definitely sparked a creative streak in my skating.
Yeah.
That was way more fun and way more innovative than what I had done previously. Because I was always stuck in the mode that I got to do tricks that I can make all the time.
Yeah.
So Rodney helped me through that.
Can I pivot to, because I feel like so you came into my awareness more in like 99, right? So like up until like researching you for this, I don't think I understood that like the story of Tony Hawk is really the story of a little kid and like the things that little kids can do. And you watch these documentaries of you and you're just tiny. I mean, you're so little and you're so determined and you're like, you have this grit and you're like obsessive, but also like it was really hard for you. Like you were not accepted by the skateboarding community. People made fun of you. You know, your dad basically like starts it was called the NSA, National Skate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he starts a program so that kids can compete. And then all the kids turn on you and they're like, you're only winning because your dad started this. Like, what was it like to try to belong in skateboarding back then for you?
Belong. It was, well, our generation, we'll call it bullying now, but we just got picked on. I got picked on a lot.
Yeah.
You know, stop picking on me. And I got picked on I got picked on in school because I was a skater. So already at school, I was an outcast.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started skating, my way of skating wasn't cool because I was just trying to focus on tricks and stuff. So I got picked on for that because they were like, he's just a circus freak. He just does these baton twirls and stuff. It's not cool. So it was very isolating. But I think that beyond all that, it just gave me a fire to kind of try to prove them wrong. And I guess it wasn't that I was just skating vindictively, but there was definitely a desire to overcome all those shortcomings. Mm-hmm. And I worked on it. I was obsessive. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was possessed. I was obsessed. I didn't want to get hurt, but I didn't mind getting hurt for the sake of progression.
Right.
And so at some point I kind of came into my style and I got bigger and I got stronger. And then I could do these tricks at bigger heights. And that's kind of when people shut up.
Yeah. I watched this video. You're competing against Christian Hosoi, who's just like, kind of like bad boy cool, muscle shirts, like
hot.
Sort of the hot. He's really hot. He's like, and the crowd has turned on you. They love him. They're literally, you're just this little boy. You're doing these amazing things and they're booing you. They just keep booing you.
And throwing beer cans.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just so curious, like, do you remember like time travel back to that moment? Like, how did you keep going? I don't think I could ever, if I was being booed, keep performing. So what was it that made you keep going?
I don't know. I think well, for sure it was a determination. I didn't ever consider myself that resilient, but looking back, I suppose I was. It was just more that I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this the best I can. And yeah, like that one, I fell, they were booing me and then I ended up falling on that run. And then they threw a beer can into the bowl and I was like, Jesus, what else? And so at some point it was like, do I throw this back? Like, do I participate?
Right.
Just no, I gotta, more rock, less talk.
How old are you then?
16, maybe 17.
Uh-huh.
But that was it. It was, I think that was probably the determining moment where it was just like, you have to let your skating do the talking.
Right.
And just shut up about everything else. Cause there's no way I'm not going to engage them. I'm not going to win them over. I'm just going to have to skate as good as possible so that they don't talk shit anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not looking for accolades. I'm just looking for them to stop talking shit. That's the baseline I want.
Right. You're not asking for a lot.
Not a lot, yeah. If Thrasher just says Tony Hawk won, that's a win for me.
Yeah.
As opposed to Tony Hawk looks like a mosquito. I can't remember the exact quote. Looks like a mosquito trying to flee the bowl. That was one of their quotes.
Oh, that's worse than a Big Brother quote.
No, Big Brother, I was just washed up. That's fine.
Is it true that in trans world they showed a picture of your nut?
That is up for debate.
We can't confirm if that was your nut.
We can't confirm. I'll tell you what it is. It was the 80s.
Yeah.
I was wearing pink.
Sure.
And I used to wear swim trunks under my skate shorts as underwear because I was always heading to the beach. Like, this is all true. I was always like going straight from the skate park to the beach. So I was just like swim ready. And I didn't like underwear generally because it was all tighty whities back then.
Yeah.
So I wore pink board shorts.
I love it.
And then there's a shot of me doing Japan Air in Trans World, and it's just pink right there between my legs. I can't confirm or deny what that pink is.
But the Big Brother made a trading card out of it.
Oh, of course they did. Yeah, of course. Are you kidding me? Dave Carney, I feel like Dave Carney, when that happened, he locked it away, and he's like, if I ever get the chance to do something, I'm pulling this out.
Oh, fuck.
Or Tremaine. Maybe it was Tremaine that did it.
Yeah, you can't trust that guy.
Yeah, I can't trust any of you.
Come on. Were you the baby of the family?
Yeah.
What was it like? Because I was the baby and I was just spoiled fucking rotten. Was that kind of, what was it like?
Spoiled. I think it was just sort of, I had a lot of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
My brother is the closest sibling to my age. He's 13 years older than me. So by the time I was in school,
You was one of them M&M babies.
he was gone.
You
Yeah.
came between menstruation and menopause.
Yes.
That's what my father told me. I was the same thing.
My mom was 43.
My dad said,
Oh,
the best
wow.
part of you ran down your mama's crack, boy. And my mom would go, oh, no, it did not. And I'm like, don't defend it.
Oh my.
That makes me think it did.
I didn't have conversations like that.
Yeah.
But
you're
it
lucky.
was like growing up with grandparents.
Right, yeah.
But they both still work. So I was definitely more left to my own devices.
Mhm.
I was a latchkey kid. And then when I found skating, the obsession was, how do I get to the skate park?
Right.
And what were your parents like? If you could define your parents' personalities, what were they like?
Supportive, but not, well, my dad definitely not warm. My mom was, but they were also driven. Like, my mom was an educator. She went to get her doctorate degree while I was in high school.
Wow.
Like, literally moved away to go get a doctorate in education. And then my dad, he was in the Navy. He was in World War II. And then when he came, he ended up being stationed in San Diego. That's why we lived there. And then he started selling musical instruments at wholesale, and that was his job. So they were just always working.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading something when your dad was having a heart attack and you're like, Dad, I love you. I just want you to know I love you.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was giving you the, I know. Did
I
he
think
ever
the exact
reciprocate?
Quote, the exact quote was, I know you do, but you can't have my Bud Light. You'll get that reference.
I don't.
Really?
Yeah, what is it from?
That was I think it was a Bud Light commercial back then.
Oh,
where it was just like,
okay, yes, I remember.
people
okay.
would be
Right.
they would be exposing themselves, or they would be giving a genuine statement. And he's like, yeah, I know, but you can't have my Bud Light. And then that was my dad's way of deflecting that, though.
Did he ever say he loved you?
No.
But you know he did.
Well, I mean, but just by actions, of course.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks that that's the example I had to go by, and a big reason why I had a hard time connecting with my own kids for a long time. I mean, really on a being fully present scale, because that was my example.
Can you tell your kids you love them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was weird at first. That was super weird at first.
It's awkward being that vulnerable with someone.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they, I believe they need it.
Yeah.
And they need to be reminded of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was when my mom was gone, when he thought he was having a heart attack. She was living in Flagstaff trying to get her doctorate.
How old are you?
I was, I think I was 15.
You're
Wow.
15.
So I couldn't drive him. So he got an ambulance to the hospital, and then I was just home alone.
And I guess your brother and sister.
My sister lived in the area, so she went to visit the hospital, came and got me, and then kind of told me that it's not what he says it was. But
how frightening.
yeah, it was hard.
And was
Yeah,
it
it
just
was
like
weird.
a moment where you basically like you've had this relationship with this person who it sounds like your dad wasn't good at expressing any feelings and you're like, he's dying. I'm going to tell him how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just in case. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you told him, have you told him you loved him before, or this was like.
No, I mean, because it was never in our vernacular.
Right. Wow.
And I remember actually like when my mom called me to tell me he passed away. He passed away 8 years later from lung cancer. And she's like, "Oh, I just want to tell you, you know, I knew it was coming. Your dad passed away last night, and he loved you so much." And that was like the first time I ever heard her get emotional or cry over my dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Your mom didn't show a lot of feelings?
No, not their relationship was pretty cold when I was growing up.
Right. Yeah.
I think it had reached that stage.
Yeah.
I mean, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I never thought of them as being cuddly
Right.
or actually even hanging out together, really. But I didn't pit them against each other. You know what I mean? It was just more like,
yeah.
who's giving you a ride to the skate park? Who's home?
Sure. You're just trying to do your thing.
Yeah.
Do you think some of like growing up in that home where your parents aren't really good with feelings, like, because there's these just videos of you as a little kid, you're just pushing yourself so hard and it's almost like you're a robot. I mean, you're like a machine. Do you think some of your drive came from like trying to prove yourself to your parents? Like, where does that come from?
Not really. I don't think that anything that I did skating, I wasn't trying to get my dad's approval.
Right.
I mean, he was definitely, he was tough to please, but it didn't amount to that. It
You
was
were
more
innately competitive too, right?
I was competitive with myself, and then I was just angry that I couldn't do something that I projected myself to do. That's what you're seeing in my face. Is like, why can't I do that trick? I'm here till I'm doing that trick.
Were you constantly beating yourself up over things like that, or over anything?
Beating myself up mentally?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
I mean, physically.
Physically, yeah.
By default, yeah. But yeah. Oh, yeah. If I left the skate park without completing the goal of whatever it was in that moment,
yeah,
I was inconsolable. I mean, not inconsolable. I was just bitter.
Yeah.
Bitter at myself, and I'm sure that came out too to others, like where it was obvious, like, oh, don't talk to him.
Right.
And do you remember, because like even just if there's like an example, like trying to learn, say, the McTwist, like what was that process like for you? It
was first it was frightening, and then it was just super frustrating because I couldn't do it the way Mike McGill invented the McTwist, which was like a 540 spin upside down. I couldn't do it upside down. I didn't have that sort of somersault snap. Skaters know what I'm talking about. So my spin was more sort of flat. And when you do a flat spin, you can't see your landing zone until the very last second. And so I could never really trust that I was in the right place. And then at some point, I was obsessing on it so much. I mean, it was probably some good part of the summer that I was really stuck on it. But it was just as school was ending that year, 1984. And I would just be at school, like, you know, not even listening, just like, when's the bell ringing? 5:40 time. Right. Here's going McTwist. Here we go. And then finally, I just held on to my skateboard until I felt it hit the wall. And then I kept holding on. So the first McTwist I ever did, I held on to my skateboard all the way to the other side.
Wow.
To make sure it was still under my feet. It was probably the ugliest McTwist that's ever happened. But it gave me finally it gave me the validation that, like, I can do this trick. And then I started figuring it out better and better. But to answer your question, it was torment. And
was that same when you were trying to figure out how to do the 900? Did that torment you?
That did, in a different way, because that hadn't been done yet. So there was no way to know if it was possible.
Right. It's like the holy grail for everyone.
When things are done, it's way easier to aspire to do them and to actually get them done, even if it's done by someone else, because you just know it's possible. It's humanly possible. With the 900, I started trying that in 1987, 88, and I didn't even come close until around 1994. And then I started getting close, and it was like, oh, this is possible. And I finally, in 1996, tried to actually make one, broke my rib.
Jesus.
And that kind of set me way back.
And what is it? Like, will you just explain to me, like, why is it so hard? What are you actually doing?
It's hard because...
Yeah, Tony, why is it so hard?
Yeah.
It's a 2.5 spin. I mean, it sounds ludicrous now because there's kids... Mitchie Brusco did a 1260, so... he went a full 360 beyond that. But back then, no one had done a 900, so...
Yeah.
So the reason it's so hard is because you have to spin super fast and you're blind to your landing zone twice.
Oh my God.
So you have to either be very high or spinning extra fast to ever see where you're going to land. So in my day, I didn't have either of those things. So I was just landing blind. And I didn't understand that I had to actually shift my body axis mid-spin to figure it out. So when I finally tried to make one, I think it was 1994, I put it on the wall and then I fell forward and broke my rib. And so then it was like, I had all the pieces of this puzzle. I had the commitment. I had the spin. I can't do it.
Right.
So, it definitely set me off like, maybe it's not possible or it's not possible for me. And then and there were a few of us gunning for that trick. And a lot of, people got close. Danny Way was the first one to really get it on the wall. Tuss Papa was trying it. Giorgio Sattoni was trying it. Rob Sluggo was trying it. And we were all getting close, but no one really had it. And so I just kind of put it on the shelf and I was like, one of those guys is going to make it. And cool. And then every once in a while I would try it again, but I still had that thing in the back of my mind, like, last time you tried this, you ate shit. So don't try to make it. And then when the X Games came around in 99,
Dave Duncan called you out?
Kinda, yeah. I was halfway into the event and I did my best trick. 10 minutes into this 20-minute session, my best trick at the time was a Varial 720. And I didn't have anything planned after that.
Right.
And then Dave Duncan was like, let's see one of those 900s, because he saw me trying it for years. Fuck
you, Dave.
Dude, yeah, like, really? With 10, and also, it's exhausting because you need so much speed to do it. And I was already tired, so it was like, well, here's what it looks like. So I spun it, just to, like, here, that's a 900 attempt. And it was like, try it again. And then I think on like the third or fourth try, I realized that I was getting higher and I was spinning faster than I ever had. And I was seeing the landing.
Oh,
and
wow.
then that was like, oh, I could actually throw one on the wall again. But I also thought, I'm going to break my rib again.
Yeah. And this is in front of like thousands of people, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I didn't care at that point. It was like,
Right.
I'll break my rib again to try to make it. Sure. And so then when I finally tried to land it, I did fall forward, but I didn't get hurt. And that was the moment. That was left like the tipping point, because it was like, oh, I got to shift my weight backwards before the landing. And then the next attempt, I did that and I fell backwards. And then it was like, oh, I got it. Just like split the difference and I got it. The unfortunate part about all that is that before that happened, that best trick event was amazing. That, like, everyone was on point doing NBDs, like doing never been done. Colin McKay, Bob Burnquist, Bucky Lasek, like everyone had made a trick they came for that they had never done before. And
it was still amazing. It was like probably the most amazing.
There's also that kind of doesn't get highlighted.
Yeah, I understand.
And in all fairness, Colin McKay won the event.
Yeah,
because he made his trick within time.
I did a Mountain Dew commercial with Colin McKay. Did you know that, Elna?
I did.
He's amazing. Was that the one up on the building?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like scary.
And the director is like, he was this asthmatic guy, so he had his inhaler all the time, Samuel Bayer, and he was like smoking in one hand, taking his asthma inhaler in the other hand. I was like, geez.
He did Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah, he did a lot of videos.
I have to say, I watched you in the 99 X Games make that trick, and it made me cry. Because it's just, first of all, like, you're trying over and over and you're getting pummeled. And then, like, all the other skateboarders are like, touching your back. They're like, you can do it, you can do it. And then when you finally make it, it's just like, first of all, just literally unbelievable to watch. But then everyone rushes you and they like dogpile you. It's just such a beautiful, like, It's a memorable, like, I think one of the most memorable sports moments I've seen. What did it feel like when you landed it?
Oh, relief.
Yeah.
That was it. It was just like, oh, yes. Like, I never have to do this again. So I thought. So I thought. And then I didn't realize that everywhere I'd go afterwards, that's all anyone would ask of me.
Oh.
In any terrain.
Would that get a special fee for that?
I eventually figured out how to do it more consistently, but it was always a risk. I always, sometimes I came up short and it was rough. But I think that what you're talking about, that's such a microcosm of skating culture and the community of skating. What we do is so artistic. Yes, it's competitive, but at the same time, everyone's rooting for each other. I mean, all the way to, if you watch Paris, the Paris Olympics, like the skating crew, they were just having fun together and they were cheering each other on. And Keegan Palmer won. His competitors came up to him and held him up. Like, that was amazing. And it's just like, I don't think there's any other sport like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of support. I agree. Like him doing the 900, and I got emotional as well. And the only other time I got emotional watching the X game is when Travis landed the double backflip.
Yep.
His mom was crying, and it was too much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I might have broken my rib, gotten taken away in an ambulance. Double backflip is either make or tragedy.
Yeah, well, broken ribs suck.
True, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. What is your injury tally?
Wow.
Do you have a tally?
I don't really keep it going. I mean, there's so many minor infractions on that list. It's hard to say. I mean, broken bones. I broke my elbow. I broke my leg. I broke my pelvis.
How'd you break your pelvis, Tony Hawk?
I was doing a shoot with the Wild Boys.
Oh, of course. Of course, Johnny's somehow involved in this.
I wasn't there. It was Jeff Tremaine's fucking fault.
That's Wild Boys.
Uh-huh.
No, it was no one's fault but my own.
What happened?
We were doing a shoot at Bob Burnquist's ramp with a skating chimpanzee. Was it chimpanzee or orangutan?
Chimpanzee, I believe.
Okay. And Bob and I dressed up like monkeys to skate with him. He didn't really like that.
The monkey didn't?
No, he did not like that. He kept like kind of coming after us, so we had to like let him skate on his own. And then and also like racing, he doesn't want to be beat. So if you start to go ahead of him, he jumps off his board and he wants to take you out. So that was fun.
They just bite your face off, those jealous 15-year-old jealous chimps.
Yeah. So anyway, we skated with him a little bit, and then Bob and I did some skating on our own in these monkey suits. And Bob has this full loop ramp that comes off the backside of his ramp. And he and I had just come off of a tour where we were doing a loop every night because it was the Boom Huck Jam. And I had this loop that was like the perfect symmetry, perfect construction, every time the timing was right. And so one of us, I don't remember who, in our infinite wisdom was like, monkey loop. Those words resonate in my head still. And long story short, his loop was not like the loop we had been skating.
A little warped.
Night. It was warped. It was slow. Bob tried it once. This is his house, by the way.
Right.
He tried it once and he missed.
Red
that
flag.
That should have been my first red flag.
Yeah.
Bob cannot make his own loop. And then I tried it and I kind of came off the wall, but I managed to knee slide out. And then it was like, oh, we need more speed, which is not, if anyone's ever out there trying to do the loop, that is not the answer. Because more speed just makes your legs buckle. And my legs buckled, but on the way up. And then I was flipping upwards. And then I just came crashing down on the edge and broke my pelvis, fractured my thumb, fractured my skull.
Oh my God.
And I think you're trying to swallow your tongue too, because I heard you snoring in the footage. And when I've done that in the past, my doctor's like, that's you trying to swallow your tongue.
Oh.
And
yeah,
it was dark. It was dark footage. Yeah. Like have you seen the footage, Elna?
I've never seen the footage, no.
Yeah, you don't need to.
I felt terrible.
I'm just kind of there and definitely concussed, unconscious.
Yeah.
It seems like his feet, he's trying to spot his feet like halfway down, but the ground is like way below that, and then he just shit whips onto his head.
Oh my
And so there's blood coming down my eyebrow. I'm just mumbling gibberish, and then my kids were there. Luckily, they didn't see it.
Oh,
because I thought, oh, I'm skating with a primate. My kids will like that.
Yeah.
And then they were on the other side of the ramp. They didn't see it. My friend luckily just grabbed them, took them home. But the strain that I came to as I was putting.
You came to?
You missed that part. It wasn't in the video.
That must have been the snoring.
That's just always Wild Boys Jackass. When I finally got conscious, it was because they were lifting me into the ambulance, and they moved, like it jiggled, and my hip was this intense pain, and that woke me up. Where I was like, what is that? What is that pain? What's happening here? And then when I got to the hospital, I don't think I've ever told you this, but a cop came to the hospital and wanted to know if anyone on set had tried to get me to do something that I thought was dangerous.
Ooh.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah, they were looking to blame something. It was a weird conversation. Yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
You should have sued Jeff.
I was like,
I would
Jeff
back you
Tremaine,
up. Yeah.
Chris Pontius, Steve-O, round them up, get him down here. I want to press charges.
Oh my. You've been really on your best behavior today.
Oh, have I?
Yes. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not telling dirty stories.
Did you have anything you want to ask Tony? We only have like 5 minutes left with him because
you know what I want to ask, and I'm asking for a friend, but is it true that you lost your virginity on a launch ramp in the back of a tour van?
Elna.
No, that is not true.
Well, I was told that by someone.
Well, I don't know who told you that.
Huh.
No kernel of truth in...
Is there a kernel of truth?
Yeah, a kernel of truth. That was the second, that instead of Pretty Sure I Can Fly, Kernel of Truth was going to be the title of this podcast. So in the spirit of that,
no, and honestly, because I wrote about it in my book, the actual event, the
losing of your virginity.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it did.
Well, I didn't. Well, I didn't.
It's okay.
I apologize.
I didn't expect you to. And I it's not usually a topic of discussion.
Okay. You didn't lose your virginity on a launch ramp in a van. Did you ever have? Were you ever?
I can't confirm or deny that.
Okay. That's fair. That is fair.
Johnny really wanted to know this.
Come on.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. Come on.
I know what I'm in for.
You can blame Sean Cliver.
Yeah, it was a Bones Brigade tour, so yes.
I have one question too. I mean, this is a little more philosophical, I guess, but like, there's this quote from Stacy, who started Bone Brigade, where he says that
Boner Brigade.
Boner Brigade, yes, that when you skate, you don't think about bad things. Is that true? Like, what is your philosophy?
Well, for sure. I mean, try doubting yourself when you're doing something high risk. See what happens.
Yeah.
It's not going to go well. Yeah, I am on a mission to make things. Even if things aren't lining up perfectly, I'm staying on.
Yeah, like I guess like because I mean, you've done some of the, I would say, bravest but also most complicated things in skating. When you're going for something, especially if you're inventing a trick and no one's ever done it, can you walk me through what goes through your head? Like how it goes internally for you when you're trying these things?
Well, firstly, do I have all the pieces to make it happen? Or is there a part of this that is completely foreign to me? And if there's a part of it that's foreign to me, I just work on that aspect of it first. Okay. And then if I feel like I have that, I know how to land from this angle or from this precarious position, then I take that for granted that, okay, I know how to land that. And when the time comes to land it, I will land it. Uh-huh. And so then I just work on nuances of the trick, either foot position, body position, spinning, whatever, aiming for the coping. And then at some point At some point, I just know the only thing left to do is make it.
Okay.
And sometimes that will take hours, weeks, months, years, decades, But I know that I got everything I need to make it happen. I just have to commit to the landing. And to answer your question, I don't think about what happens if something goes terribly wrong.
Yeah, because everything about what you were just saying, you were coming at it from a positive aspect,
Yeah.
And you just can't let negativity seep in.
No, not at all. And if it does, then I got to step back. But
right,
I don't let it, because it's just like I know I can do this. I just got to make it happen.
Tony, you got to get out of here because you got 20 minutes.
Is it the time?
Yeah. Thank you, Tony, for being on our show.
Thank you. I'm going to do our podcast right now, Hawk versus Wolf.
Ooh, I love it. I think I'm going to do that again soon. I'm not sure. I hope.
Please do.
I hope you'll invite me back.
You're always invited back. You have stories you have eternal stories.
The ones I can remember.
That's all we need. Those are some of the best ones.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Tony.
Smart. Less.